Hey friends, it's Cassie. I wanted to hop on here real quick to intro what Taylor and Kelly have coming up next. Back in February, Level Up was able to sponsor Hybrid in Charleston, and it was a blast. One of the coolest things we did was build a podcast studio and recorded a ton of live episodes. We have some amazing guests coming up, some fun Q&As with attendees, and some classic Taylor and Kelly yapping about everything and anything. Not only was this the first time we were all together in person, it was the first time we recorded the podcast with our full setup. I got a promotion from podcast editor to podcast producer, which was very exciting. But obviously, we had a few hiccups as to be expected when you do something you have never done before. You know how Taylor and Kelly are big on building the parachute on the way down? Well, that is what we did. And with this first episode, our parachute was full of holes. So please excuse Taylor's audio being not quite as clear as usual. And if you're watching on YouTube, please enjoy the camera display screens that we completely forgot to clear. I promise it gets better. Thanks as always for your support. I know Taylor, Kelly, and myself really appreciate it.
Here at the Level Up Co., Kelly and I truly do believe that an elevated client experience from the very first touch point of that first email all the way through the delivery of your wedding films or those final galleries are all so important. And that's why Kelly and I both have been using and loving VidFlow for the last several years, and we recommend to all of our students and our audience members to use VidFlow as well. Delivery experience truly matters. The way your clients view their films for the very first time should be a magical moment. It needs to be a professional and branded experience, instead of basic file sharing like Dropbox or Google Drive, or even Vimeo or YouTube links. Through VidFlow, clients can stream their videos through smart TVs, streaming devices, and setup boxes. Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, you name it. There are so many options for clients to watch and experience their films for the very first time on the big screen at home. And VidFlow is now offering photo delivery as well. They now support photo delivery with their new hybrid galleries, which is a major benefit for hybrid shooters and combined photo and video teams. You can now deliver your beautiful photo galleries alongside your video galleries in one place. Level up your delivery experience for 2026 and beyond with VidFlow. You can get started today by going to vidflow.co/thelevelupco. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petrinovich, joined as always by my co-host, Kelly Gilster.
Hi, guys. Hi, Taylor. We are here live right now at Hybrid Conference in Charleston. We're so happy to be here. We're going to be recording podcasts all week long with both speakers here at Hybrid and attendees here at Hybrid, and we're just really excited to be able to bring the Level Up Co. for the very first time in person with everybody.
We have incredible episodes scheduled that we can't wait to air over the next couple of weeks. But we wanted to kind of do an introduction to this, I don't know, can we call it like the hybrid series?
Sure, yeah.
Love that for us. This is actually a really special series because, Kelly, we've never recorded in person, ever.
This is kind of funny and weird. I'm like kind of tripping out, but we just came off of our casual road trip series as we road tripped from Southern California into Santa Barbara for Engage for a conference. And as you know, here at the Level Up Co., we are big on networking and getting into the room with people. I think that there's probably a lot of listeners here that are thinking, okay, people know me maybe, virtually, they know me on social media, but it is so different when you are looking to just work alongside your peers, meet them in person, learn with them in person. And that's exactly what hybrid is. It's really networking as a whole, getting to know different types of businesses that are here. So like here, we're sitting in the sponsorship floor and we have Decora Albums, we have Imagine AI here, we have B&H Photo, we have Narrative. There's a lot of things. And so attendees can kind of just walk through the trade show floor, I guess, and be able to interact with them. And so it's really amazing. So
yeah, I know. And this is both of our first time at Hybrid, which is kind of cool.
It is cool.
I love a new experience.
Yeah, I do feel like I chatted last night with a lot of people, listeners. It was kind of a sponsorship meet and greet, and they were like, I am so introverted and I'm so nervous. And for some of them, this is their very first time really physically getting into the room. And I think that hybrid is a really amazing place to be able to do that. It's a great, first step into getting into that space, ripping off that Band-Aid, starting that networking rotation. And so it's really amazing.
Yeah. Okay. What I would actually love to do for this episode is I want to talk about our upcoming 2026 season. Like, as this is airing, we're obviously recording this in February at Hybrid in Charleston. So it's going live a little later. But we're probably rolling right into wedding season. And as we've mentioned so many times before, Kelly and I are both still actively shooting weddings. We still love it. We do that alongside the Level Up Co. And we are still on growth trajectories ourselves, which means we're constantly experimenting with different tactics and strategies, implementing new things in our business, seeing what works and what doesn't, so that we can then bring those things to you guys, to the listeners, to our mastermind program, to League, which is our networking group. And so, Holly, as we prepare for the 2026 season, like, what are some of the things that you're doing?
I have already done my first wedding of the year, which I know you have too. You had your first one at the end of March, and I shot actually an elopement, which is not common for me, which we maybe could talk a little bit about, because a lot of our students that come to us, they start off kind of in that elopement category. They shoot some weddings. They market themselves as both wedding and elopement photographers or filmmakers. And I don't do a lot of elopements because it's not something that I've interwoven into my messaging as my brand. But I hope that this is encouraging for people to know that just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean that that type of clientele won't just come into your inbox at some point, especially when you have wedding planners. Wedding planners are still a part of these elopements. And I mean, I'll be completely honest, with an elopement on a Monday with 8 people, I still charge $10,000.
Yeah, that's amazing. And actually, like, I think that's such a great point to talk about is when we set our pricing, so we start at $15,000.
Yes.
And so there are times where it makes sense to be flexible in pricing. And one of those times, maybe if you're trying to start a new relationship with a new wedding planner and they have a client who's a great fit for you, but maybe the budget isn't right there, that's a great entry point to be like breaking your own pricing rules. But a Monday elopement is like absolutely also one of those rules to be broken. And actually, so my wedding in March, I broke my own rule too, and I did like a $2,000 discount, just because like I never book in March. Like, I usually don't start my season until June. And I was like, I don't know, I'd rather have $12,000 than $0. And so I, they came to me with the budget in mind, and I accepted, and it was no big deal. But then they added on rehearsal dinner coverage. So that's an extra $3,000. So kind of bumped me right back up to like my normal price point anyway. But I just think it's great to I think people pricing, like, especially if you're working on raising your prices, they get into such this mindset of like, this is what I worked so hard to do. And like, I will not break my own rule. And like, it's kind of to their own detriment. So like, let's talk about that with this elopement. Like, how did that come about? Like, did you talk about pricing? What was that?
Yeah. So they actually didn't talk much about pricing. The planner got in touch and the referral came from a wedding photographer. So as you know, we talk a lot about relationships with wedding planners, but as filmmakers, we can absolutely use the relationships with photographers to an advantage of ours as well. We work so closely in tandem with them on a wedding day. And so it's just really important that you aren't forgetting about that referral source. So we actually shot this photographer's wedding. She was a corporate girly back in the day, and she got into wedding photography after her wedding, and she's just absolutely blown up. I actually probably should bring her onto the podcast eventually because her story is so inspiring and cool. And now, fast forward 7 years or so, like now we're working together. And she actually sent me 2 leads. We have 2 weddings together this year. And yeah, so she pitched me. I would say our styles don't really align. She's a little bit more edgy and cool girl. And as you kind of know, I'm a little bit more timeless and classic, but the client did both times come to her and say, who do you recommend for video? And what I'm looking for in my videographer is a really timeless and classic videographer. Even though I'm getting a little bit more edge and fun with you, I really do want something like tried and true. And so she was like, this is them. And I think that's also a testament to really remaining consistent in what you offer to your clients, because that light bulb is going to hit for people when they think of you in that way. So she sent me that. The planner was like, great. And then I just kind of did like my due diligence. It's at a venue that I really want to be working at again. I've worked at that venue 10 years ago, more maybe. And I would love to place our brand there. It's very much similar to our ideal client. And so even though it's a small little elopement, I'm going to be leveraging the location a lot. So that's where that came about. And I just kind of decided like a Monday with 8 people, like it sounds about right to do it for $10,000. And they said yes. And then that same photographer pitched me on a really big client that's a $20,000 collection in June. So she sent me like 30,000 in referrals, which is insane.
Power of relationships, guys. Yes. Pretty amazing. That's so cool. Actually, like this is one of the things too, where people, so we talk about branding here on the Level Up Co. And like, we do believe in the power of having really strong and like specific brand. And I think people get a little nervous when they're building their brands that they're pigeonholing themselves into just one thing. And obviously as filmmakers, as photographers, we're artists, right? And so I think that there's a fear of like doing the same thing over and over again, becoming boring. But what I think is really cool is like your brand is like a bullseye. And that's like what we're really aiming for. But all of the clients that are going to be attracted to you are like all the darts being thrown at the dartboard. And although like they'll be kind of like scattered around that exact bullseye, like there's a lot of variation. It wasn't like right on the bullseye. You know what I mean? And like that happens a lot. So I feel like it should be something that like is like calms them who are too worried about creating a really specific brand. Like you're going to get plenty of variety. It's just important to have a strong bullseye or else like no one's going to know what you stand for. And like kind of to your point before, like being really strong in like your style. Like don't feel like you need to be like wishy-washy to like make everyone happy. Because I think it's so cool that this client who like wants like a more edgy, moody photographer, like wanted you as a videographer. Like that's actually really neat.
So many of you listening are incredible filmmakers. But if you're stuck in the cycle of always editing with no time to actually work on your business, it can really stunt your growth. Taylor and I see it all the time. A growing backlog, late nights behind the computer, and no space to focus on booking, marketing, or scaling. That's exactly why we're so excited to partner with Wanderlust. Wanderlust offers professional video editing services for filmmakers, including highlight films, feature films, documentary edits, ceremony and speech edits, elopements, and even social media teasers. And the best part is they match your style, so your films still feel like your artistry. Whether you edit in Final Cut, Premiere Pro, or DaVinci Resolve, they deliver a seamless outcome no matter which platform you use. Outsourcing your edits means more time working on your branding, making it to that networking event, and carving out time for education to actually grow your business instead of being buried in footage. Head over to wanderlust-videos.com to learn about their amazing services. And as a listener, you can get $100 off your first project with Wanderlust of $200 or more with the code LEVELUP100. If your backlog is keeping you from working on your business, Wanderlust is your solution. Yeah. I think that too, like, you find both sides of the coin. And I think that the industry has changed so much in what people are looking for. I feel like the client now is looking for a little bit of everything. That's kind of what I've heard. And like you look at the galleries and you see bits of everything. I think there always should be a through line in the mission of your work. But I do think that they want kind of a blend. And like my client actually in June, she's kind of that perfect candidate of wanting a little bit of everything. And she's younger. So I'm really trying to start to figure out this little ebb and flow of I grew up being younger than my brides and then we were the same age. And now I'm to the point where I'm 16 years in and my brides are younger than me. And I'm trying to figure out, I knew how to like really relate to this. Like I can nail this millennial client, like, cause I am that millennial client, right? But when it comes to Gen Z, I'm still figuring it out. I think we all kind of are, right? And that's okay. Like, and we want to be able to serve them. And I think the amazing thing with us in this millennial sphere is that we have years of experience and that can't be like taken away from you. Like your years and experience can't be taken away from you. But if you can figure out a way to relate to them more, get inside their brain, understand what it is that they're looking for, then I think that's really powerful. And so what I have gathered over the last 18 months, 2 years is that Gen Z is looking for a little bit of everything. Back to my June client, she really is. She wanted that classic videographer, but she wanted Super 8 too. And so she actually asked her photographer, okay, do they do Super 8? And that's actually a new thing, like a new medium for us right now. should I bring in another team to shoot just Super 8? She's like, no, I think they do Super 8. And then I got on the consultation with this bride and she was like, cool, but I don't want Super 8 blended within the digital cleanness. So I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And she's like, I love Super 8, but I want it to be separate. I want the ability to like, if I decide in 10 years that this was something that I was like, why did I do that? At least it's like a separate entity of my main primary wedding film. And I was like, that's actually so smart. I was like, I love that you're doing that. I would, if I was a bride right now, I would do that exact same thing. I would want to have the cool vibes of the Super 8 living in its own 3-minute film, encompassing the story through that lens, and then have the digital living in its own little world in more of that storytelling, pure form, all of that. So I actually loved that she said she wanted them separate.
Yeah, actually, that's so funny that you say that because I have a client from last year. It was a big wedding, multi-day, and they negotiated into the contract that they would get like the complete like 8-minute highlight film or whatever, but they also wanted like separate like 2.5-minute films of like just the welcome party and like just the wedding day. So like I made like the full weekend film and then like started like partitioning out, and I was like wondering why, and it's like, well, maybe they just want to relive that memory, or maybe they're like safeguarding, like if something happens on either of the days, like they can like preserve the integrity of like each individual like event. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
That is really interesting. Well, how old is that client?
I think she's like 31, 32.
Okay, so she's like more millennial. Okay.
I'm just like looking. I think her mom was like very like involved. And so I actually think that was probably more of like the mom's like perspective on things, which is, I don't know, very wise.
Very wise. And actually, I think that's so smart too, because we have these brides and grooms and the moms are coming into play. And I actually feel like in the budget years of my business, when I was serving more of a budget clientele, the parents weren't as involved. I don't know if it's like the level of investment that I
think they're like contributing substantially financially, and then you feel like their kids should be heard. Where it's like, I don't know, like when you got married, how it was like we funded a whole wedding. So like, why should my mom get a say in anything? She didn't pay for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Really interesting. Just kind of a hot take for those kind of listening in. I got some intel from a planner and I did not end up booking this wedding. That's okay. But I've reached back out to the planner after about 6 weeks of preparing a proposal and all that. And she said, we're just not quite there yet. We're trying to lock in photography, but videography is going to be next. But just to kind of give you some intel, the mom wants classic, the bride wants vibes. And I just thought that was such a great peer into like the brain and the inner working of the planner-client relationship, that they are having conversations that we don't even know about. And then they're placing the vendors in front of you on who can serve them best. So that's so important because in the beginning years of my planner relationship days, I didn't understand that planners were doing that internal work. I'm like, I have to talk to my client. If I don't talk to my client, I can't figure out if there's red flags there. I can't whatever. But these planners they're hand-holding the client through so much of the process. And so they want the success of the whole vendor team, which means they're going to bring in the right vendors for all of the internal conversations that they're having. So I just think it's really important for us to understand that we can like let our guards down a little bit in that way, not hold so tightly to the systems and processes that worked for our business 5 years ago, all of that. So
actually, like the parallel that I'm drawing is like, so us as photographers, as filmmakers, I feel like once you start working with full service labels, like they have a hard time like kind of understanding that the planner is kind of their client as well as the client is the client. And so for planners, like bride is the client, but so is mom or whoever is like another decision maker. So like we're all kind of like balancing like multiple versions of who the client is and like making everyone happy. And I think it's like good. Like I don't know. For me, like it helps me like have empathy for planners. Like sometimes we put them like on this like pedestal and just think of them like the gatekeepers and like I have to build a relationship because that equals like my financial well-being. Like that's what I need for like bookings. But like, you know what I mean? But like, I think that like dehumanizes planners like a little bit. Like we see them as like a transaction, but it's really important to like understand they're people too. And they're like having these conversations and these, challenges of balancing. And like, I don't know, we're all doing it just in different ways,
Yeah. And I see it too, like as you bring in maybe a parent into the equation that has opinions and they want stake in the game and all of that. It's like looking at this client for this June wedding, how she said like a digital for me Or like maybe it's like the digital for mom, not to say that this is that bride, but I have had consultations with other moms and clients where we talked about Super 8 on the call and the bride even said to the mom, like, I don't think you're going to like it. But like, what if it was something where we could still do it? It lives in its own entity and it's like one for you, one for me. Digital for mom, clean classic, one for me, fun, trendy, what the kids are doing these days.
One for you, one for me should be the theme of 2026. Because like that's something that we walk our mastermind students through all the time is like as they're trying to like maybe pivot styles, like especially as photographers, like videographers, it's a little bit different, but we have a lot of photography students in our mastermind. And always like helping them remember, like you need to get the safe shots, the plastic shots for the gallery, but maybe those don't make it onto the Instagram grid. But you know you want your Instagram grid to look a certain way so that your brand feels a certain way. And it's like, cool, well, when you're at the wedding, like one cool vibey shot for you and for the grid, and then one clean classic normal shot for the gallery. Like it's a one for you, one for me kind of thing. And it's one for you, bride, one for you, mom, one for you, bride, one for you, planner. Like everyone kind of like needs what they need to be happy. You know what I mean? And you don't have to just like capture the wedding in like one specific way. Like it's the one for you, one for me mentality.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like, okay, going back to our intentions for 2026 and how we're preparing for the season, I would say I feel really strongly about where I'm sitting in the season booking wise. I want to internally kind of be looking at now this next generation of clients and what they're looking for and what lights them up and excites them so that my 2027 clients can see that shown through in my socials, in my copywriting, in all of those branding elements, so that we're just speaking to that next generation. What about you, Taylor?
Love it. This year, for me, for weddings, I'm like really trying to pre-stack teams so that I can approach the season with balance and not feeling overwhelmed. Like we're very transparent. Like Level Up is a huge lift for us, like as far as like the amount of hours like, sort of, like that go into it. And so I've made the decision to like pretty much bring on an editor for all of my films. Like I still do a lot of the doc edits, like ceremony toast. Like those are so easy. I can have my little walking pad and get some steps in and edit that. No big deal. But the highlight films, like I think I'm good at editing, but I'm not like great at editing. And actually, like at this price point that I'm charging, I feel like my clients deserve better edits than what actually I can do. And it would take me 3 times as long. And I just frankly don't have the time. And so 2025 was a huge year of like me having multiple edit for me, like really locking in like maybe an editor who I feel like best aligns with my style, like what I'm trying to portray for my brand. And so 2026 is kind of an extension of that. And making sure like all of my films feel cohesive. So I'm really excited. Like, so I entered 2026 season like with a locked in editor. I'm so excited. Yeah. If you have not yet considered bringing on an editor and you maybe feel like you're in the same boat, like maybe whether editing's like your strong suit or not, or you have the time or not, like really understanding that you don't have to do it all. Like we're the CEOs of our own business. That doesn't mean we have to be the ones also mopping the floors and serving the food if like we were a restaurant. Like you can delegate and you can have a team behind you to like make your brand successful. And so that's one of the things that I've done. And then I'm also I'm bringing on a third. I think like I mean, I've probably brought on a third over the last 2 years to like half to 2/3 of my weddings. I'm really like starting to understand and realize that like it's just really hard to do these events with 2 people. And so just like embracing the team. I'm embracing the team this year.
Cool. I feel like we should do next week's podcast episode about embracing the team and finding that. Should we do it?
I think that'd be really great because I think that as we say a lot of the times, if you've been around the Level Code before, you'll have heard us. But wow, that came out weird. If you've been around us for a while, then you will have heard this. But in the early days of business, I feel like second shooters are willingly brought on as like contractual obligations. They're like, well, I sold that to the client. They signed on the dotted line. Now I need a backfill. And like anyone with a pulse will do. You know what I mean? Anyone who can like push that trigger or the shutter button, like will do, push the record button. And it's to the detriment. Like I never used my second shooters footage for the first several years. Like it just was like truly to fill a seat. But now like my films are sometimes half. Like comprised of half shots made from my team. Like, and I'm only shooting half. And so like it becomes so important. And so you need to like pay them well. You need to be really intentional when you source them and like set expectations in a specific way. So yeah, I think that's great. So stay tuned for next week. We'll talk about building really high level intentional team. I think that'll be a great one.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.